The next thing we're going to do is we're going to install some limits on our game. And the place we're going to do that is on terrain 0 and on our ending terrain, which for me is terrain 4. What these ending limits are going to do is prevent what we can do now. When I start, if I go this way, I have the end of the world here. And I just want to prevent that. So what I want you to start out with, first off, occasionally if our game ends with our dinosaur facing the wrong way, we're going to fix that real quick by just having it point in direction 90 as the start. So that way, even if it's facing the wrong way, when I start the game, he's always going to be facing forward. That's just kind of a nice little kind of professionalism thing. So what I want to have happen is I always want this to kind of be the end. And what you'll notice is scroll X currently right now equals 0. Now, just in watching my scroll X variable for now, as I go, it goes negative. Okay, so this is a very important concept. So if I want anything, if I want scroll X to be greater than 0, I don't want my dinosaur to move anymore. Here's the set of code that I'm going to add, and I'm going to add it on terrain 1 because remember, the terrain is what is actually moving in this game. So we're going to start with when the green flag is clicked, we're going to need a forever loop. And as we start so many stacks with then and if then. I really wish we could just grab this whole stack as a thing, but we use it so frequently, we'll just get used to building it. And then the operator that I need is a greater than pointed ends operator. Looks like this, okay? As in the greater than symbol is open to the left. I'm going to put my variable in there. And if it is greater than 0, I want the land to go to 0, 0. And I want to set scroll X, because if I just do that, here's how this will work, is I can go this way and I don't move anymore, but as you can see, scroll X continues to go up. So when I want to go the other way, I have to wait for that number to come down to 0 before I actually move. So I'm going to add one more line of code, and that's going to be from variables. I want to set, when I do this, scroll X to 0. So now what happens is I run into basically an invisible wall, and then as I move, I can continue to do that. And using a similar system to that we've done to stop the dinosaur at the beginning, we're also going to stop him at the end. Now, I have 4 terrains. And what I've come to find, and I'm going to go ahead and start this and move towards the end, is that at about scroll X equals 1920, we hit the end. The end of it. So I'm going to use 1920 if you have, well, I have 5 terrains. So I have 0 through 4. If you do additional ones, you'll probably want to take that 1920 number and add 460 to it to find, or subtract, I guess, to find your negative number of where the end should be. So we're again going to go with the when sprite is clicked, forever, if then. We're going to look at our scroll X number and see if it is less than negative 920. Make sure you get your negative in there. And our scroll X variable here. Then we're going to, again, because we're programming this on terrain 4, that's where we can tell terrain 4 to go to 0, 0. And set scroll X to negative 1920. So again, this is just the opposite of what we did at the very beginning. Well, it's the same, it's just different numbers. So again, we go to the beginning, and then we go here, We go all the way to the end, and we stop, like right here, which is a weird place. I can still jump, and I can still go backwards, but I come to here, and there's this like invisible barrier there. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to adjust our dinosaur controls so that it does one thing if scroll X is a certain number, and it does something else if it's a different number. So we're going to come back to dinosaur, and we're going to add something to our controls here. We're going to add an if-then around it. So if I grab my if-then and I come right under forever, it should wrap everything in an if-then. And that's exactly what we want. Then I'm going to grab my operator, and I'm going to say if, and I'm going to grab my greater than, and I'm going to grab scroll X is greater than negative 1920, do this. Okay? Remember, greater than means negative 1919.9 will do this. And at negative 1920, it will do something else. This is where I'm going to duplicate the entire stack and make some adjustments. Because now what I want to have happen is, first off, I am going to remove this and get my equals. That's the same thing. So I'm going to put that in there. I can cut that number and paste it here. I can now get rid of this. So this is what's going to happen if it equals 1920. We know that it won't go higher than that, but here's what happens if it equals it. I'm going to take the change scroll axis out, but I'm going to leave the point in directions because that's going to be critical to giving it movement still. And I'm now going to add a move 10 steps. And we're going to do that after the point in direction so that we make sure we're facing as we move, which is exactly what we want to do. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to add a third one. Because what would happen right now is if as I green flag this, I'm at 0. And I'll go all the way to the end. Maybe I should have made my example one shorter. You'll see I'm now at 1920, and I can move around here. Okay, I can move side to side. So if there was some sort of finish line or that, I can get to it here. Now the hard part is now I can't move backwards. Okay, because I'm right here at the end. So this is where we're going to add an additional if-then. Okay, so I go to Control, I grab if-then, and I'm going to put it after this one inside the two ending ones. So right below my if left arrow, if is there. And I'm going to go to Sensing, and I'm going to grab if touching edge. And this is a pretty simple little thing, little trick here. Variables, set, scroll X to negative 1919. This is, again, where we take advantage of this. So what this will do is it'll basically switch our mode back and forth. So as we know, what's actually happening here is the ground is moving to the left. I'm not actually moving to the right. The ground is moving to the left. And as I get into the last one where I'm at 1920, you can see I can move back and forth here, and I'm actually moving my character now. Now as I come back and I touch that edge, you can see that's where I kind of jump over it. Got a little something that I could probably improve there. You might notice that as I was going backwards, I was getting a little, sorry, I didn't try to show it there, little box there. That's because all of my backgrounds, if I switch to one of them, are drawn slightly over. So that's what's covering the other thing. Now I can fix that by making sure that these don't overlap correctly. So that's something I could fix.